Welcome to the Yukon and North 61. So people know I'm a big 30-06 fan. So they're often 30-06 fans, my subscribers. So they get mad when I talk about newfangled stuff. But here I go anyway. So much to my wife's chagrin, I think I'm going to buy another rifle. But I'm also going to sell a bunch. So let's get into that. Let's get into it. A couple of things have gone into my desire to try something a little bit new. One was my son got we went on a great sheep trip. He used my lightweight 30-06 5 3/4 pound 30-06 Forbes with 150 grain extreme bullets. Definitely killed his caribou dead, but at the extreme high angle that he was shooting at from a bipod, he also gave himself a good cut, because that's 30 foot-pounds, closer to 30 foot-pounds than 20. That's magnum recoil in that little rifle. So is there a way to cut that recoil without going to a break? Or we can't use suppressors here in Canada, so that's off the table. Another factor is how much fun I've had shooting my daughter's left-handed 243 that I built for her that's about 5 3/4 pounds. Boy, I forgot how fun it is to shoot a 243. It doesn't really kick at all. What amazed me is remembering just how fun they are to shoot, because the recoil is so light. And you can spot your hits. Definitely at 200 yards, even close to it closer, even with that light rifle. So it's just been a lot of fun to shoot. And then remembering, I used to have a 6mm Remington in a Remington 600. I shot a lot of caribou with that rifle. And with the more frangible bullets, it killed really, really fast, those caribou up in Baffin Island. So that was another thing that has got me thinking. And then that final piece is listening to a bunch of podcasts. A bunch of folks have gone back to small calibers and made the argument that it's not foot-pounds that kills animals, it's bullet performance. And a bunch of guys are using like Creedmoors and even Arcs for shooting with high BC bullets. They keep the energy you do have out to longer ranges. And they argue that it's the bullet that expands and then drives deep enough to create a lot of wounding. And it's that wounding that kills stuff. It's not the foot-pounds. There's a relation there, but it's not a direct relationship. And they've had great luck with their little mini calibers, as did I when I used them, with perhaps some range limitations, but I think those limitations are ameliorated with the high BC bullets. So I thought, how do I bring this all together? So I looked at rifles under 5 pounds. Love the Hoa Superlight. Like the looks of that little fella. Looked at them. But they're not in 6 Creedmoor, and I don't want another 6.5 Creedmoor. I've already got 3 6.5s, 1 Creedmoor, and 2 Rem mags. And I want the advantages the 6mm gives, which is less recoil. So a 6mm Creedmoor would be perfect in that Hoa Superlight. Eventually they'll probably offer it. They offer a 243, but only a 1 in 10 inch twist, which means I can't use those high BC bullets, which is the whole advantage, I think, of these light 6mm. So I looked at the Arc, and I looked at the mini carbon stalker in the Hoa line, and I started doing a lot of research on that Arc. And I thought, this could just about do it. 4 pounds, 14 ounces, with less of a lie than the Hoa Superlights. Hoa Superlights are always come in a little heavy. So I got one on order. So let's talk a little bit about the ballistics of this little tiny cartridge. It seems almost unbelievable that it's going to be good enough, but I think it is. When you take a look at the little case of that 6mm Arc, it almost seems ridiculous that it's going to be able to do anything. So look at it compared to the 243. So you've got the 243 left to right. On the right, you've got the 6mm on the 6mm Arc on the left. Look how small it is. But notice that the bullet is out a little further in the arc, so you get less bullet impingement in the powder column because it's loaded out a little bit. So it's also loaded to 60,000 pounds per square inch in a bolt gun. And for whatever reason, that gets you within 200 feet per second of the 243. Plus, with the faster twist in the regular arc, you can get a fast twist 243 too, and then you're erasing any advantage the arc has. Except the arc will always have the advantage in a little bit less recoil, about 30% less, and less muzzle blast. So the 243 doesn't kick much, but it's a blasty little fella, where the arc shouldn't be. I haven't shot one yet, but man, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a real fun gun to shoot. So when you get within 200 feet per second and you've got the higher ballistic coefficients, and let's take a look at the bullets that I've chosen to compare. So there's the bullets. There's a 90 grain A-bond, which is able to, in a 10-inch twist, it's fine, 3,200 feet per second in my 243. And there's the 103 ELDX with a much higher ballistic coefficient. By memory, I think it's 376 compared to 512 ballistic coefficients. And that 103 needs an 8-inch twist to stabilize. So I'm comparing right here at 3,200, the 90 grain A-bond out of a 243 with 103 grain ELDX out of the 6mm arc, and let's see how they look together. Okay, that 90 grain AccuBond out of the 243 has the initial muzzle energy advantage at 2,046 compared to only 1,793 out of the 6mm arc. So it's winning, but then that high ballistic coefficient of 512 catches up. So they carry 1,000 foot-pounds at 243 to 435 yards, where the arc 465. So 30-yard advantage for the 6 arc. Now, if we take a look to expansion, so how far do they go to 2,000 feet per second where the bullet should expand well? In that case, the arc doesn't quite catch up. 560 yards for the 243 to 2,000 feet per second, 530 yards for the arc, although the arc that ELDX should open up easier than the AccuBond. The 243 gives you a little bit better trajectory, where the arc gives you a little bit less wind drift. So they're both about equally easy to hit with at longer ranges. And they have a similar amount of energy when you get out there. So that 30% advantage in recoil that the 6mm arc gives you isn't really there's no real disadvantage when you get out at range when you're using the 6 arc over a regular 10 twist 243. So I'm quite excited by that. It seems like a bit of a ballistic miracle. So part 2 will be when the rifle arrives and I shoot it a bit, and I'll tell you whether it reached the hopes that I have for it. Thanks for watching.